when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
We're doing it with our friends. Welcome, friends. Welcome, book clubbers, to another edition of the DLC Book Club. So glad you're with us. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm joined by Lana Bachynski. Hi, Lana.
Hello. Good morning. I'm going to sound a little worse for wear, but I feel great, and I can't wait to dive into these chapters.
Well, actually, your microphone is a little blown out right now. Can you talk again?
I sure can. My gain might have gotten adjusted. In my bag.
There you go.
Hey, sorry, everybody.
No worries. No
Good
worries.
morning.
Good morning. Hey, we got a couple of really dense, interesting chapters of Dust of Dreams this week. Chapters 7 and 8 to dig into. Lots of juicy stuff, some lore, some intrigue, some identity reveal, or at least one identity reveal, I think.
Nothing makes me feel more like a light frustration than feeling like I made a prediction that is immediately revealed in the next chapter, so I don't get to look smart when we get here.
yeah. Can't be between the chapters, between episodes, and then really feel like a genius.
Look, we so appreciate the community for doing these chapter breaks, but if you could make the chapter breaks at a time that would be most optimal for me to look really smart, I would love that. Thank you.
The good news is you look smart almost all the time, whereas this guy with the thumbs. Anyway, we love to start the show with a non-spoiler topic in case you're not caught up with us. Or you're doing what our emailer is doing this week. You can still hang out, talk about fun book-related topics. These are often sent in by you, and we love it when they're sent in by the folks who are watching and listening to dlcfeedback@gmail.com. You can also visit our Discord, which is 5x5 DLC on Discord, and post there, get into the community. It's fun. This email comes to us at dlcfeedback@gmail.com. It comes to us from Yick, who is also hangs out often. We see Yick a lot. Yick is a patron. Love Yick. Yick says, hey, first off, congratulations on reaching the penultimate book in the series. I've been listening every week since the start, and you guys always bring interesting perspectives, emotion, and joy to your discussions of the books. I get so much delight listening to you break things down every episode. And that actually is the basis of my topic. I have listened through your entire show without ever having read the books and with no intention of ever reading the books. No offense to Mr. Erikson, of course. Since I know he listens, I find the subject matter fascinating, and I love hearing you two talk about it, but I have always struggled getting into meaty fantasy novels, even though I thoroughly enjoy the genre in other mediums. So my question is, are you two able to find enjoyment in the consumption of content secondhand, or do you strictly desire consuming the content yourselves directly? Primarily as it relates to books, like me with your podcast about this book series, but the other obvious parallel is watching streamers play video games or listening to people discuss movies or TV shows that you have not watched and may never watch. If you do enjoy the vicarious experience of content, are there some media and genres that you do enjoy in this way, but others you do not? How come? Congratulations again on your progress. I hope your show will continue beyond the end of the series. Yick. We plan to. We'll see. We'll plan to. Interesting question.
Yeah.
This is anathema to me, but I'm curious how you feel about it.
I get down with the secondhand content, and not everything, the end of Yick's question being, is there things that you don't like secondhand? And most things I don't like secondhand, but the few exceptions are, no, I'm a thrifter. I'll get down with a thrift,
all right.
But maybe underwear. I actually didn't even think about Twitch streaming as I was thinking about this question, but that's way up there. But the thing that came to mind for me initially when I heard this was I have talked about how I am dedicated in such a way that I will ingest garbage and get to the end for the sake of being like, I did it,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't really I don't seek out garbage. It's just if it happens upon me, I will
Right.
eat garbage. But I am fascinated by garbage. Trash TV shows. I do not want to watch trash TV shows. I don't care about the Love Island. I don't want to.
Right.
But I do want to understand what people like about it. And so I have a group of friends that we will podcast to one another over the phone using voice notes and send each other podcasts about updates. I want show updates about the show you're watching, but fully through your perspective of my friends. So tell me about Love Island.
Your friend watches the thing, tells you have no intention to watch it.
Ever.
You want to hear their reaction to the thing you haven't seen.
It's the enjoyment of watching my friend experience something dumb, and their cleverness is the part that I want to tune in for, and not whatever actually the show has to offer.
Right. So part of that is them describing what happened, right? Because you don't know what happened.
Yeah, they have to tell me the plot, and then the reaction is sort of baked into their paraphrasing of whatever was presented in the show. They give me the most entertaining possible version of that thing for my tastes.
That's so interesting. Lana, you and I are similar in so many ways. This is not one of them.
But you get down with a voice note.
I get down with a voice note. You sure leave me a voice note, but
a story but I mean, I would never call you and be like, "Hey, I'm going to voice note you. I just saw Inception." I'm not going to give you the plot of a thing.
And if you did, I would be like, I want to watch that Inception first before I listen to your voice note. I don't want you to Inception. You know what I mean?
If it's like, oh, we're talking about the plot of Andor, no. If it's things that I know that I want to do, but it's specifically things that I have no desire. I have no desire, but I do have desire to see what somebody else finds entertaining about it. Like I would sort of liken it to you talking about how you love loving things, and you sometimes just don't love a thing, but you wish you loved that thing.
Right.
That's the space that I'm operating in. I love seeing other people love things, and I want them to tell me about all the dumb things that they love.
That's so interesting. This whole phenomenon makes me feel old because it feels like something that happened after I'd already sort of come of age. Like there was no Twitch streaming when I fell in love with video games. There was
You don't Twitch?
What?
You don't Twitch stream at all?
No, I don't.
Wow.
I don't watch any streamers. I'm not interested in somebody else having the fun. Like when I was a kid, you go to a friend's house and they have the Nintendo and all you want is for them to die so you can get a turn, right? Not really die, but their character on screen. You're not like, oh, I'll inherit that from their dead body. No, not that. But all you want is to get a turn. It would be torture watching my friend go and beat level 2, and I wanted to beat level 2. I just don't understand the joy of it.
I so agree with that in that circumstance. I'm not sitting next to you watching you play a video game and not being like, let me get one hand on that controller.
Yeah.
Then it becomes that. But there's like games that I probably would not pick up. And specifically when it comes to Twitch streaming, I mean, I only watch people that I became friends with. Tim the Trickster Frazier, God Gamer, #1 Twitch buddy.
Right.
I watched the hell out of his streams because I didn't have the time. I was, working and I was animating, and I would have something up on the second monitor like 90% of the time. And I would log in and Tim would be playing, the first Alan Wake, any of the Telltale games, especially those ones where it's not about like the game feel. I would be like, it's story time, baby. Let me experience the story of this thing, but laced with like a personality and a person I care about. I would never watch a YouTube video of somebody playing because I don't care. I don't watch VODs of people. I'm in the chat. I'm participating in the discussion. It feels like you're hanging out with friends, but I'm also getting my job done.
Entertaining people are entertaining. I get that. Right. I want to hang out with the entertaining person. Kind of doesn't matter what they're doing. That I understand. I feel like that's not exactly what Yick is talking about here. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. And I totally understand entertaining people are entertaining, right? The closest thing I have to this is that I listen to not a lot, but I listen to sports commentary for sporting events I have not seen, or they end up talking about sporting events I have not seen, because I kind of want to be up to date on what's happening in the sports world, and I don't often have the time to watch all of the games. So I'll listen to sports. There's podcasts that I listen to, and they'll talk about the day's events in sports, and I didn't watch any of them, or one of them I only watched, whatever it is. That's the closest that I have, because it kind of like keeps me up to date with it. But most of the time, if they're talking about this amazing finish of this game or whatever, I wish I had watched it instead of, I'm glad, you know what I mean? I wish I had that firsthand experience. I am somebody that really values, being not spoiled for things. I'm somebody that really values the magic of the moment it happened and feeling the emotion of that moment and turning the page and reading the next thing, or being shocked by the twist ending at the movie, or the incredible buzzer beater 3-pointer at the end of the game. Like, I want to feel the drama of not knowing what's going to happen next. And I don't get that secondhand. I don't want somebody else's reaction. I love getting their reaction after I already had mine, to be like, oh, I hope we shared the same joy. That's why I do this show, is because it's like we get to both talk about how we felt in the first person experience of it.
I guess the niche I feel like it fills is, it for me, it is, once I play something, I want to talk with people I know about it. I don't I know people who look up other people's reactions so that they can see how other people felt. And at that point, I don't care. I feel like it's almost like fully solo, fully my experience.
Yeah.
And then happenstance discussions about it, or something I fully could care less about, would never have engaged in. But I'm curious. I think the Telltale games are a perfect example, not to swing so much into video games as is natural. There's zero chance that I pick up a Telltale game. I don't care.
Yeah.
But people love them. I want to know why people love them. I'm interested in it, but I don't have to control. There's no game feel. And if it's also, but I'm not going to Google that, because I don't want to just sit and watch a video game. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to play it. Seeing my friend play a video game, feel like I can comment on his playthrough, almost like we're hanging out together.
Yeah.
And also get the knowledge and sort of, honestly, industry knowledge about why this game is cool, what people like about it. I'm maxing out on an experience I truly would not have ever cared to have.
I think that's the key, and that I understand. And I think that's what Yick is saying. Is saying, I wasn't going to read these books anyway, right? I wasn't going to read anything.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see why people like it and why you guys are enjoying it so much. So, it seems like such a strange experience, because, we'll say things like, oh, and then what did Tehal do? Amazing. It feels like they're like, what? I don't know. Hey, Yick, so glad you're with us.
Love it. I love that.
Really appreciate it.
It resonates with me.
And thank you for sending in this very juicy, interesting topic that I would never have thought of my own. If you have more folks out there, please send them to us, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. All right, let's dive in. Chapters, what is it? 6 and 7? 7 and 8? 7 and 8 of Dust of Dreams. Spoilers starting now. Chapter 7. We start from the perspective of the Errant, who is in this really awesome location. I just thought the description of walking through this flooded tunnel out into the ocean floor, where all the silt is being kicked up, and it's just trudging along the ocean floor. So cool.
Yeah. And I mean, super reminiscent. I mean, he's in the tunnels, sort of the catacombs around the palace is the assumption.
Yes. The place where he drowned the Feather Witch.
Yeah. We're seeing the sort of the aftermath of Bug's intentionally awful construction.
That's right. That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way, but yes. And he's thinking about, man, maybe I shouldn't have drowned the Feather Witch. Am I the baddie? Nah, I don't know. I have minor regrets there. I'm not going to think about it too hard, though. as with every major jerkwad in this series, there's some humanity there, or in this case, elder godity. But
elder godity. There's some elder godity in there for sure.
So walks into the ocean floor and finds an Azath house, or at least is headed there, and finds an old buddy actually hanging out. Old buddy Knuckles. Be the Knuckles to my Sonic.
Yeah. This Knuckles is the sort of delightful but feeling precariously balanced Forkralasail Azoth guardian of this house. That I think it was it Brol Handar when he was having his ocean wanderings.
That's right. Yes. Met the same fella.
Same fella, same house.
Also known as Setchel Lath, also known as Setch to my buddies, or Knuckles to my one super buddy. And it is also an elder god. And Errant is like, bro, I'm getting the band back together. Let's do this. Come out. I know we had a falling out.
Forgotten gods on 3.
Come on, I'm the master of the tiles. I rock. I'm getting the clan of elders back together, bro. You, me, rest of the clan of elders. Let's do this.
Yeah. Bring your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Roommate.
So interesting here. Also, lots of talk of the Forkralasail. They have a new power. They have new alliances.
Mm-hmm.
They're headed toward war. Lots of foreboding with the Forkralasail. That's why Knuckles. Just pound it.
And this is the scene, like as he walks in. If I remember the other one correctly, there was like hey, we're gonna go in here, and I'm gonna help you out, buddy, but don't talk about dragons.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the end of this scene where.
It's the end of the chapter where it's like
it's the end of the chapter.
Let's talk about dragons.
I wanted to say trigger warning. dragons. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So the next scene, we have the realm of Emerlon, and we're hanging out with Kilimandaros and Osric, who are also former lovers. I want to say Osric is hiding like a big scaredy pants because Edgewalker is waiting on the other side of the portal to kill him. We don't really know much about Edgewalker, at least I don't recall. Maybe you know more than I do, or you can recall it. But I don't think we've learned exactly what the deal is with Edgewalker. But Osric, who seems like no slouch in the power department, scared of Edgewalker.
Yeah, Edgewalker, I feel like the most we know about him is that he's sort of held with like a fearfulness and a reverence, and that he seems kind of like a good little guy. But that could also mean that he's actually a bad guy.
Yeah. We don't know.
But he had I don't remember the exact circumstances, but I know had like little bits of like empathy, and he was like helping, I want to say, like demons or somebody in Hood's realm before. So he's like little glimmers of like compassion-y dude.
Yeah. But it does seem to imply that Osric and Kilimandaros got it on at some point, which is interesting. All right. The next scene, we have Stormy and Gessler. Stormy is either howling or screaming, depending on how they debate that. And because Stormy had a dream with the black clouds approaching, what could that mean?
Stormy, things be stormy.
Impossible to discern the, bad things are coming.
I sense, there's getting lots more hints about puppy dogs in these two chapters.
That's true too. Yeah, wolves, puppies, beasts,
howling, rivers.
Yeah. Whether it's a howl or a scream feels like not just a little jokey moment. It feels like it means something. Yeah. Also, more hilarious stuff with Hellion, who's just hammered, and they're like, "Let's get Hellion What's she doing? And then we have another a scene after that of somebody having a sort of ominous dream-like experience, and I love this scene with Bottle, who hears a voice in his head and is like, "It's Ferret Sort. She's messing with me. She's in my head. What's happening?" No. It's Smiles.
Yeah.
Smiles is messing with me, and all this stuff with this is the scene where a Bottle is like looking in her chest.
Thinks so.
She's like, "Oh, she booby trapped it to poison me. I know it's gonna happen. Oh, there's no booby trap, which is even more suspicious."
Thinking that the bed was booby trapped. Any of the little pieces of hay sticking out of it were laced with poison. You can't touch anything. You're gonna touch the chest. It's not booby trap. It's open. That means the trap's actually inside, or there's actually a worse way that she's trying to get me.
Yeah.
And then he hears the voice in his head being like, "Hey, I found legs. Come find me. I know you can. Hey, little hide and seek. Found something cool. Check it out." And Quick Ben's up in it.
Quick Ben.
It said, "Do you know how bad of a headache we're both gonna have after this?"
Yeah, it's like, you're messing with Makra now, dude. Stop it.
Since when? But somebody comes in and is like, "Hey, what you doing?" I think was it Cuddle?
Yeah. Cuddle
He's
is like, oh no, it's Cuddle's. It's
Cuddle's
box. Like Foot Locker, where he's like, "I'm checking out. It's Smiles Foot Locker." It's like that's Smiles Foot Locker. Oh no, it's Korab, isn't it? Korab.
It is Korab, and he's like, "You open it."
That's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And they're talking about the war games that the Malazans are playing with the Lethari, which we get more of shortly. But it's so funny how they're both like, what we should have done is just murdered a bunch of them. Then they'd learn.
Yeah.
It's really like, instead of using the fake weapons for the, just the game weapons, we should use real weapons and just murder like hundreds of them. That'll prove a point.
I also love that they're in the two extremes. So like, okay, we should either do the war games and then actually like do war on them, or fake a tummy ache. Ooh, tum.
Oh yeah, well that's what Bottle faked the tummy ache so that he didn't have to participate.
Yeah,
he's like, "This is lame. I'm gonna get out of here." And all that stuff is funny too. He's like, "Aren't you sick?" He's like, "I'm better now." Very funny stuff. Also, there's some interesting tidbits with the exchange between Bottle and Quick Ben about male, and like they both are like, hip to the fact that Bug is male. Like it's
you mean the Elder God that
nobody, you know what I mean?
I remember thinking that when we were reading that scene, and I didn't say like, "Oh, he's an Elder God. Maybe he's like able to." But I'm like, Bottle and Quick Ben are both here. I was like, they must like suss him out. And I think in that chapter they even had like a couple like side eye kind of like glances up at him. But that being like, "Oh yeah, it's crazy that he's like there though, right?"
Yeah.
And like seems to like do everything Tehal wants. It's like crazy.
Yeah. And Quick Ben's like, "Oh, so then?" And Bottle's like, "Obviously."
I'm like picturing like, Majo Vision, where it's like everybody's normal, and males like neon signs being, it's like, might as well say Elder God here, and then like motifs of like splashing water.
Totally. Also, they have an interesting observation about the tiles, which even though they say the wardens, have sort of taken over for the tiles, the tiles are still awake here in Lether. And there's one tile that's raised up above all others and glowing. And guess what it's got on it? A dragon.
Dragons.
Big old dragon.
Yeah, and that
feels like dragons are moving front and center in the series right now. It's dragons, baby. Yeah.
That's what Quick Ben is. He's like, "Ooh, I found the Say Dance. Come check it out."
Yeah.
You can find it. I believe it. I love it. Got the vibe of them like chatting on the phone and then walking to the same room being like, "Why did you do this to me?" And like hanging up when they get in person. Yeah.
I'm standing right here. I'm standing right in front of. We can hang up. Yeah.
Can I help you? Yeah.
And and I don't know if we're supposed to take him at face value, but he says something that made me think that maybe the Sedence is not dead.
That is what I feel like. I mean, Letharis is clearly center of something in a big way, because the other thing that's like very front and center is Icarium. This is where he turned a bunch of stuff on. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's like these sort of warring sort of magics swirling about, but that just like his power and whatever he did is sort of keeping Letharis as like this hub of new power. That is maybe the old power, but also different power.
All right. So next scene, we check in with Sandalath and Withal, who, by the way, I meant to say this last week or a couple weeks ago. I love how they started as like people who like vehemently hate each other.
Enemies to lovers.
Yeah, and now they're just like solid as a rock. I just love how they're just completely just this solid marriage. Nothing gets between Sandalath and Withal.
Yeah, but anyway, also like classic marriage where it's like, yes, dear.
Yeah,
yes, dear.
Totally. Yeah. She wants to leave the Bone Hunters, leave the Malazans, go and deal with this whole shake business that's shaking out, and find out how they're connected to the Tist Andii. And Withal's like, okay, babe. I mean, okay, babe. Whatever you want to do, babe.
Yeah, because I just should take notes. I know that's been like my mission from the beginning is to never take notes, and it leads me to like say just crazy things, just synapses firing. But there's something about this scene. I'm not going to remember it.
Well, there's two scenes with them. We come back to them later when they have the knocked. He had that whole thing with the knocked.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. Where he says, she's like, why do you hang out with these weird little creatures? He's like, I mail sent them to me. She's like, well, send them back. He's like, I got them in the mail. No, I'm just kidding. Mail sent them to me. She's like, send them back. He's like, I can't. I don't think that. I think it's kind of rude to like.
That's not how prayers work.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's not how
He's like, I prayed for help, and this showed up.
An actual God sent this to me. You don't be like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I don't remember what connection that I was making through these scenes, but it is all those pieces. It's Sandalath, I think, like having visions of a shoreline, something. It's the fact that she emerged out of the water.
Right.
It mentions something later about males having a daughter somewhere.
That's right. Do you think it's Sandalath?
I don't know if it is, but these are I can't remember what I felt like I put together. But and then the shake just being the people of the shore. There's like some interesting themey, connected watery bits in there, but I don't remember.
Interesting. Then we have a scene with Telerast and Curdle that is played for laughs too, where they're like very Charles Fleischer cartoon, where they're like lifting up the eyelid of the drunk guy and like snapping it back in place. Very fun.
Yeah.
As Banishar, of course, who's passed out and wasted, and they're talking about like he's their pet, which is hilarious because they're the ones that look like pets. And saying, well, the Errant is the one who's been messing with them, and let's kill him. Who, Banishar or the Errant? That whole like who's on firstness of their exchange is very fun.
So fun, and I just love that they'll be like, "Who? What? You tell me. Well, I can't tell you until you tell me what you think." Blah, 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 blah. And then they'll be like, "Very serious thing. We're both real dragons, and we know that we could kill things." But our pet,
it's delightful.
Yeah.
And then Banishar actually does wake up, and he's like, "What are you idiots talking about?" And they're like, "We're gonna mess with the Errant." He's like, "Okay, well, here's how you do that." He's like, "By the way, I've been messing with the Errant this whole time. And the only way to trap the Errant is to do the same thing he does, which is 4D chess, manipulate fate, get
little
speed 4 steps ahead." Yeah.
Little nudge, nudge, always into death. Little nudge.
Right. So Banishar is still of the Drek, and
the last priest of Drek.
Yeah. So interesting that, you know, what's going to happen with these three.
But it also feels like unreliable to be like, no, I've been messing with him the whole time. For
Right.
real, though. I'm like,
as he's literally wasted, passed out on the desk. Like, no, you don't understand.
I got him right where I want him.
Right.
Okay, Banisher, let's get you to bed.
Exactly. So then we have a number of scenes with the details of the war games between the Malazans and the Lethari. And I thought this stuff was really cool. Like, I don't know of any other fantasy series where I've read about war games, like practice war. It's such a cool
Ender's
idea.
Game, probably the
Ender's Game, but that's not I mean, it's sci-fi. But yes,
Yeah.
the idea of like putting bulbs on the end of their
arrows sticks.
so that it's really cool stuff. And basically the sort of contest between Fiddler and Brisbenict, and the sort of mutual respect they get to at the end, where it's like, you lost 300 dudes. He's like, yeah, but we surrounded you and ultimately won. He's like, yeah, but we, you know, it's like, you did good. We both are sort of better for having done this exercise, which I thought was cool.
And it's like, oh, that's like, so you guys are like so sweet about that war. But it is like interesting to see Brees, you know, the ethics of it being like, but you still lost those people, and the Malazans being like, we all know what our goal is and we all know what we're willing to sacrifice to get there. Right. And we wouldn't hesitate to do that for the ultimate victory and not the immediate victory. It's just it really does feel like, oh, the hard lessons you have to learn, and like the perspective that's like 50 yards back compared to being right up in like the microscopic look of what things are. It's
It's such a great point, because it also reinforces that thing that we've been constantly learning about the Malazans, which is that cold iron perspective. You know, and Brees is like, no, I feel for every person I lose. You know, every member of my squad that goes down is a loss to me. Whereas the Malazans are like, hey, you know what? It's all about the end goal. And if we lose hundreds of people, that was what they were there to do. They're just pawns on a chessboard, and here we go. The
idea that they're like, they say something that's like, we never want to lose anybody.
Right.
But if we do, we don't stand there and mourn them, because we can't, because that would ultimately make their death less worthwhile, because we're sort of losing sight of the whole reason that they were willing to give their lives. And they're not the poetry, but like the sweetness to the end of that, of Brees sort of confidently coming in, doing the red stroke of paint across.
I said Fiddler. It's Keneb.
Keneb.
Yeah.
Keneb's chest. And then it describes him like thoughtfully wiping it off. He's not like, doesn't smear it off. He like thoughtfully wipes the paint off from that thing. Then there's also that one little piece in there where like the Malazans are also learning that they still didn't quite listen to themselves. They are not a perfectly oiled machine. Fiddler was like, they're going to be confident. They're going to do something crazy. Just you wait. And because he has continually denied being sort of the role that he's in, they're like, listen here, subordinate. Well, we know what's what. And then they're never going to go for an ambush. And so
and then literally the next line is like, and then the Lethari ambush happened. It's just such a good, like, well, they don't even know how to ambush those doofuses. And it's like, and then the Lethari ambushed them. It's like, it was great.
Okay,
was so
well, shame on me.
So good. Yeah. So then we have a scene with Ferdinand Sort. We get the sort of fallout of this this prank that Pors committed against Kindly. She goes into Kindly's office. He's got this mountain of hair on his desk. And she's like, what's up with the hair? And he's like, I don't want to get into it right now. and she's like, hey, she's looking for Sin and Grub, and wants to know if, you know, she needs to ask Quickben where they are, or if they're even worth finding. And, or, you know, Kindly's like, are they even worth finding? And Ferdinand is like, yeah, they're super, super, super important. And she has this like really creepy moment that stood out to me, where she's like, you know, she's talking to Kindly about Pors and how he's a thorn in his side. And she's like, oh, I've had some people that I thought were going to be bad. I identified them quick. The good thing to do is step on something they love. I was like, oh, she squished Bottle's little rat friend. It's like cold and we've kind of fallen in love with Faradan, or at least I have, because she saved Sin and saved all the.
Forget her introduction.
Yeah, but no, she was the cold, not nice lady, and I love how she's like no regrets. That's what I did. I identified that guy who was going to be a problem. I walked over. I stepped on his pet, so he knew who was boss.
Calculated, and like paired with the ultimate, like thoughtfulness, empathy, compassion for people that even the Malazans were like did not have compassion for, but that doesn't. She's still cutthroat. She is where she is for a reason.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
I did not even make that connection about it. Bottle's rat.
Oh, you didn't? I thought she was explicitly saying like, I stepped on that dude's pet. And
you are so right.
Scarred Bottle through the entire rest of the series. He's just like, we literally saw him freaking out. Like, is Faraday sort in my brain? Like he's terrified of her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff.
You were so right for that being the connection. I just was like, my brain is just like, oh yeah, I forgot that she's so brutal.
Yeah. I mean, she literally recommends it to him. She's like, you know what you do? If there's somebody giving you a problem, find something they love and step on it with your boot. I was like, oof, I don't think that's a metaphor.
I do love that Kindly is like, she's like, anyway, you want me to deal with this guy? And Kindly's like, I'm aware of his situation. I've got it.
Yeah.
This is just nice little.
Yeah, and then we have the other side of that where we have Kisware and Sinter who are gambling with Bad and Grook. And that little moment is lovely too, where they're literally all three of them are cheating and accusing all the other ones of cheating, which is great. And then Pores walks up and they're like, hey, Pores. He's like, you mean Captain Kindly? Obviously.
They're like, no, we figured it out. And I like that he's like refuses to kind of give up the ruse.
I know, it's hilarious. It's like, well, who did that person point at? Did you know that they were clearly pointing at that? Maybe it was Pores who was pointing at me. And they're like, is Pores a woman? No,
of course not. Like, because it's like him. Yeah, he gets so defensive. Like, of course not. Of course, Pores isn't a woman. He's like a cool man.
Yeah, he's the coolest. He's not me, but he's awesome like me. It's such a funny scene.
Yeah. And then the one thing about the gambling that I really liked is that it felt, because of Kisware's perspective of her sister, I at least had this sort of perception, and like how we've seen her sort of be very honorable and being like, we have to go help right now. I'm sticking around with the military because it's what I said I'd do. Like there's like an honorableness to her. Yeah. When she's like, we're all cheating, it's so silly. We all just move on from whatever cheating happened here, maybe. And everybody's like, you're right. But then she's like, oh, okay, I was definitely cheating. And she's like trying to wipe all the gum off of her hands or whatever. Yeah. And then I feel like it was kind of a shot in the dark that everybody was, for her to be like, whew. But you see, she's not like a perfectly honorable.
Yeah.
Person. She's like still a little scrappy street rat still too.
Yeah. Such a good point. I also like how the end of that scene is Kisware is like, so how long are we going to keep this up? And Cinder's like, a little while longer. We're going to mess with this kid a little more. Yeah, very fun. All right, so then we have that other Sandalath scene we already talked about. And then we are with Sin and Grub inside that new warren that they're investigating. And it is a bleak hellscape of burned bodies and broken down buildings, and Grub is uncomfortable, doesn't like it. He's kind of freaking out that Sin is a little scary.
Into it.
Yes, right.
Yeah, like this is just what power looks like, baby, and it looks good to me.
And she has this really interesting reflection on fire. She's like, fire isn't a blessing. Fire can mess you up. And it's like, oh yeah, remember all that stuff that Sin went through with fire? That's clearly she understands. Mm-hmm. And then there's all these sort of ghosts that they are hanging out with. So It feels like sin is maybe dangerous, little scary. Something's gonna happen with her. It feels like to me.
Yeah, but I also thought, and maybe this is just like my earthly brain, her sort of thoughts about fire. I was kind of like, what does that mean that she loves water? Is she going to be like a male's ally, or is fire purely represented by Osric? Is like the light fire? Is fire not his thing? Kind of. He's a light guy, but isn't light also? I could be crazy. Isn't there like a light realm at some point that like a Tisleosan that was like fire realm too?
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't know if it was fire exactly, but yeah, it's
There's
light.
I have like foggy memories of like them.
Do we know who Sin's Sitch? Because maybe she's the daughter of somebody, some god. You know, she's super powerful.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, we'll find out. All right, the final scene of this chapter is the Errant and Kilimandaros, and Errant is still like, Ocean's 11. I need to get my crew. We're gonna pull off. We're gonna do something cool. And Kilimandaros is there, and he's like, "We need to talk about dragons." Dragons.
I heard enough of those tiles, girl.
Yeah,
I want to play some real games.
Yeah. Also, somewhere in here, I can't remember where it is. If it's here or earlier, we find out that the Errant is the father of Opon. Isn't that right?
Yeah. He said that he like did some stuff, and they said leave it to the twins.
Yeah, he's like my greatest cast or something like that.
Yeah.
He says, they were like he created them basically.
Yeah, the way that and so he's the master.
Oh no,
of the tiles.
I'm sorry, not. It's Secholath.
Yeah,
Secholath is the Secholath the Knuckles. Sorry, got those confused. The Errant was talking to Knuckles, and Knuckles seems to be the parent of
Opon.
Twins. Yeah.
Yes, and the greatest cast I thought was interesting, but only because, and I'm not gonna ever make a connection here because I'm not. It's all a little blurry. But with Errant there as master of the tiles, Kilimandaros there playing with tiles and casting tiles.
Right.
The casting of them, it sort of reminds me of like how Fiddler like plays with the deck of dragons, and it's like, oh, there's like a new thing in here now.
Yeah.
In this deck, if it's like my greatest cast was like I cast a tile and I was like, what in the heck is this? I don't like how that was manifest, how that was created. Seems like the language of tiles versus birthing of children.
Agreed. Yeah. Interesting stuff. All right. Chapter 8. This is a really fascinating chapter. I feel like this chapter had fewer scenes that were longer than are usual in the series. Real big, long, meaty scenes that lasted a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We start with the Kachain Shamali. They're on the run. Something is hunting them, and Caliph, who's puny little human, can't run super fast. They're like, "Come on, girl, just we're
fine. I will develop an adaptation.
Yeah,
I'll grow a saddle."
Fascinating stuff here. They arrive at this bone yard, basically, giant dragon bones, but they're not. Some of them look like bones. Some of them look like iron or rust.
Machinery,
yes. And we get a lot of info about our old friend, the Ototteral dragon.
Pinned up like a butterfly.
Which we saw, I don't know, 5 books ago?
So many books ago.
Yeah, the one that was like crucified on the X.
Yeah.
And this stuff is so cool, I thought. I felt like the rust colored bone feels to me like Ototteral, like a reference to Ototteral itself.
Yeah.
And we get all this notion that a lot of which is my poll this week, but it is this notion of this single god that you can't have just a single god. You got to have something in opposition. And the opposition was the Ototoro dragon. And because it was pinned up, the thing it's in opposition to, the god, had nothing. It had no, it went insane because it had no
resistance.
balance.
Yeah.
Yes. Everything has to be in balance. So if you have this god, you have to have this opposing force. And because the opposing force had been pinned to this cross, it drove the god. We don't know who the god is. We don't know what's going on with that, but it clearly can't exist without its opposition.
But there are little clues that I thought were really interesting about this. And one of the things that I was also thinking about this opposition is like dark light, whatever, all the different forces that she sort of lists as she's like in her mind.
Yeah.
Or in this, like, she's like sort of going through like a trip kind of.
Well, one of the Gunth Mock like breathes on her or something, and then she starts tripping. Yeah.
She's getting like so overwhelmed, being like, I don't know what these people want from me. We're in a graveyard and they're asking me about their god and they'll kill me if I don't figure it out. And I'm just one person. And Gunth, I think, sees into sort of like her heart breathes on her some chemicals. She even looks around and saw them all like really excited with their fangs, or like their mouths are already coated in oil, dripping in oil. So they're riled up, and she can tell, and she's like, ah. And so Gunth like chills her out by breathing on her. And then she passes out and goes through sort of like a journey to her mind palace.
She sees the dragon and like immediately recognizes the truth of all of it.
And I'm wondering with these like opposing forces, one of the things I really like that I've thought a lot about, just as like what a sweet detail, is we have light and we have dark, but because we have those two opposing forces, we have shadow, which is where the two meet.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know if that's a specialty because of like the splitting. Oh gosh, sorry, like the splitting up of all the Warren of Darkness that got messed up, and so they had to have these more bits. But I wonder if there's a middle ground opposing forces between all of these things. And so when we're looking at like, whoa, big Ototoro dragon that they're talking about, people want to release, and when they do, there's nothing that can fight that thing. Like, it's going to destroy everything, or at least in its reemergence, the thing that could possibly fight it, the other god, will become reawakened, and then it's not about the mortals. There's nothing you could do. Fight it like two giant, unearthly, unwieldy beings of such immense power that it, like, all that matters is what to them is their life and their fight, and everything else would become irrelevant and or just simply destroyed. So I wonder if there's a third force.
That's really interesting. Yeah, the shadow to this balance. Very, very interesting thought. I did not. That did not occur to me. I do love though how she gets Calith gets to this notion of like at a certain point, the only thing you can worship, don't worship the gods, don't even worship the two gods in opposition. The only thing you can worship is the people and their response, their compassion, their empathy. Yeah. And again, that's like a lot of that is my pulls at the end, but it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And I don't want to jump ahead too hard, but once we get with Taxillian and crew, they say something that I thought was interesting. But
like the opposite, right? It's the opposite.
Well, what they say, I think, feeds into her thought. I pulled it as a quote just so I would not forget to talk about it. But Taxillian says some line about as they're walking through the interior of this big dragon. I almost want to just wait till we get there. But he talks about...
Well, whatever. Okay, we can wait till we get there.
We'll wait till we get there.
It's interesting that this moment of her sort of scolding them and saying, hey, you want to worship something, worship your fellow man, for lack of a better term. You're the person next to you. Worship the group. It doesn't matter the 1 or the 2,000. Worship the camaraderie itself. And that is the thing that they're like, she's our girl. She's our destriant. You got it, girl. Woo! We'll follow you now.
We like the sounds of that.
Yeah, we like the cut of your jib, girl.
Little confirmation bias. I thought I was pretty dope, but now the Destrian's telling me that I could be my own god, kind of. So
yeah. Well, it's cool because we've had this whole situation where they don't trust her. They want to eat her.
Yeah.
Most of them think she's, only the matron is the one that believed in her or kept her around. Everybody else is like, screw this human. And then she wins them over with this like epic speech, which is pretty cool. All right. So then we have, I think, not coincidental sort of parallel scene here. It felt very thematically linked, these two back-to-back very lengthy scenes with now we go to the Bargast, right? The Gadra clan Setok's POV, where the Bargast need to fight somebody. They want to go to war. They've decided we're literally going to fight everybody in our way. And the next up on that list is the Akranai, who just happen to be closest. So let's wipe them out.
They're kind of like another Bargast clan, is my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. And Setok and Torrent's like, I'm not going to be part of this. I don't want to do it. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to Tool and ask permission to leave. And Kafal's like, hang on. Not a good idea. They're not going to take to that very well at all. And Torrent's like, I don't care. I'm not doing this. This is stupid. We're done. We're just going to fight whoever's in our way. It makes no sense to me.
That's what Red Mask did. And we all saw how that turned out. He's been like radicalized by talks, soft conversations, and thoughtful leadership, and then ultimate sacrifice, and seeing that he was right all along.
That moment was so rad where I can't remember who it was. Was it Kafal or Setok herself who was like, oh, you think that if the roles were reversed and it was, you think that
so
Tok
good.
Thought if you were as awesome as him, that he wouldn't have just taken care of the children himself and had you go fight? You think that he did that because he's better than you, So awesome.
He did that because he was the only one that he could. It was not about bravery or being the hero. It was about necessity and knowing of roles, like being able to identify these things correctly, and that like continually tearing down Torrent and his ego and what things. It was like so excellently.
And another thing where in the previous book, Torrent is a jerk face that I just wanted to get his comeuppance because he's such a jerk face. And now I'm like, I love this guy. Oh, just lay off Torrent. He wanted to take care of the kids.
Really? I'm kind of like, yeah, every time he's getting more comeuppance, he's turning into a better dude. Get his ass.
Fair point. Anyway, this whole scene is so rad. I love they're having this argument, and then they're talking so loud that like literally the Bargast elders come over, and the wife is like, I hate you. I hate all of you people. And they're like stirring up so much hate that Torrent's like, get on my horse, Setok. And she gets on, and then all the girls are like, oh, no, she didn't.
Everything
the one available man in the whole camp, and she's going to hold onto his back on his horse.
I did love it. It's so interesting because they're kind of like, we should get out of here, and then it's like, what do you mean we should get out of here? I'm just saying we should get out of here. And it's like, feel like they're trying to get out of here, I think. Yeah.
He's like, we should get out of here. Why? Because if we don't, they'll kill us. And they're like, hey, they're gonna get out of here. Let's kill them. It's so funny. Meanwhile,
but exactly what I said. Setok being just like too hot. But then even she's like on the horse, and they're like, she's like, stop like instigating this. And then like one of the war chiefs comes out and is like trying to like hold his wife back or whatever. And she's like, I think we all know why you're really mad. She's like also instigating in such an extreme way. And then realizing that everyone around them is like the women being so jealous. And now Torrent's like, now you cut it out. And, like, it's just it's interesting.
It's such a great scene. And then also Talamandius is there, the little stick man. It's so funny how there's these like brutal warriors who are just so awesome, and there's like a little stick man going, no, you guys are dumb, don't do that. That's how I imagine it, at least. So using Talamandius's magic, or Talamandus's magic, Kafal opens a portal And they're like, just go in here. Where does it lead? Don't worry about it. They just hop in and arrive inside. And then this is like usually where the scene would end, right? But no, we stay in the scene. We stay in this moment. They arrive in this dark cave and they're like, is there a way out?
Well, but as Telemandus is gonna open the warrants, it talks like, I'm pretty sure that they're kind of broken right now. And like as she's trying to like say, hey, we should maybe just ride rather than whatever you think is gonna do, it's kind of like "Erip," and like yoinks them all out of wherever they're hanging out in the camp. And sure enough, they are not in a good spot. And isn't there like fire on their passage? They're like all a little singed.
Yeah, well, Telemandus gets all burned up.
Oh yeah, Telemandus straight up gets vaporized.
Yeah,
I forgot that. Yeah. I was like, there's
like,
some kind of fire.
I think the Warrens might be.
And he's like, okay, well, open another one or something. He's like, no, I mean that was the magic guy.
Yeah, it's like the magic guy's all. Did you see how he got burned up? We can't. There's no opening another one. And she's
really
like, okay,
should have built him out of armor and not hay, not sticks.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, so let's figure out a way out of here. Oh, wait, there isn't a way out of here. It's just a tomb, basically.
Mucky dome.
Yeah. And they eventually start, I love this whole thing of like, hey, maybe we just like bash the rock. There's like a little crack. We could bash the rock and or it could collapse on our heads. That's a thing that could possibly happen.
Let me tell you a little thing about physics. And domes in particular.
And then it's just the raddest thing ever where this is why I love Torrent now, was Torrent is like, I'm not leaving my horse. This is the last all horse. I owe it to this. I'm the last all horse. I will protect it to my last breath. If we can't get out of here with the horse, I'm staying in and dying with my horse. They're like, people are going to find this tomb and think you were dying with your horse so you could ride it into the afterlife. It's like, and then it's just the most awesome thing ever where they open up a tiny little crack and Torrent teaches his horse how to crawl.
Yeah, it's like, wait, it's like a horse, like a badass horse.
Sick
it can do
moment.
things that like I've never seen a horse do that ever. Very cool.
So rad. He's like, on your knees, horsey, we got to crawl through the hole. The horse is like, so rad. But the place that they're in is a little crazy and strange because it is this kind of bleak, post-environmental disaster type place where all the forests have been cut down, but they look like they've been cut by machines. Nothing's alive. Everything's dead. And Setal is like, Satak is like, hey, no wolves. I'm the wolf chick. I could sense wolves. No wolves. What's up with there's no wolves? And she's like, okay, here's what Kafal's like. Hey, you know what you should do to help us out? Maybe you should call the wolf spirits.
Yeah, there's no wolves. She's like, I can sense. And she says something like, I can sense that there were wolves.
Yeah.
But not for a long, long time.
Yeah. And Kafal's like, it would be really a good plan with no downside whatsoever is call the wolf spirit because that's what you can do. And she's like, I feel like that's a really bad idea. And Kafal's like, guess what? We're stranded here on this strange world. We got to do something.
Like, how many wolves could there be? 20?
Yeah. What's the maximum number of wolves?
Yeah.
And she summons, of course, all the wolf ghosts that arrive, and they're all like thrashed and they've been murdered and hunted and destroyed and
different species.
Yeah.
Thousands
of wolf spirits basically all coming to her call, and she's like overwhelmed by the sheer number of them, the violence of their death. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Then we head back into our ghost friends who are inside the Kachain Shamal dragon
fortress
house. Yeah.
I never registered that they say pretty explicitly this is a Kachain Shamal. I mean, we knew that because they were all in there, but this is like one of their I don't know if it's like one of their flying cities or if it's like
this is a keep. They call it the Dragon Keep later.
Yeah.
I think it's
they call it something rooted. Whereas like the
Yeah.
one where like, oh, this must be a crashed
Right.
ship.
Yeah.
And that's why it's rooted. But that's like just I think how they talk about their keeps. So it has
Right.
always been a building.
Yeah.
But the fact that it is this creature shaped thing, sort of praising a dragon, that's why it's like, oh, the heart and the head and the lungs. And
it's full on sci-fi. We're in a full on sci-fi environment, you know, tubes.
Yeah.
I like how they describe the machinery. One of my favorite things about this whole sequence is fantasy characters describing sci-fi concepts.
Yes.
It's such a cool notion where they're trying to process it in their fantasy character brain.
Magic brain. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're looking at what is clearly
technology.
Exactly. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I just love the way it's described from their perspective, where they're like, I mean, it looks like metal, but I don't know. Like, where would the gears? Are there gears? He's like, yeah, they can put them inside stuff to protect them from dirt and debris. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Who would think of that? They look like spigots and weird bendy tree limbs. And he's like, those are pipes, bro. Those are tubes, hoses. Very cool stuff. And then they discuss the notion of a pump and like an engine. Such a cool thing.
Yeah, the engine was the part that I was like, oh, maybe this is something that was one of their flying keeps. Like if this is one of their keeps, is a sky keep can be a dragon?
Well, I didn't necessarily interpret it as an engine, as in like an airplane engine or a car engine. I thought it was maybe, they're pumping
generator.
Yeah, exactly. And clearly they're pumping something from one location to another location. They're, something's happening in this thing, but I'm not sure what. And we're pretty much sure that this is Ikariam who's the ghost, right?
I'm like, yes. So this is the piece where I was like reading this, and when we saw the Errant, he was talking about he's like walking through the flooded tunnels, and he's like, this is where I choked that lady. I like drowned her straight up, and it was so good. And she took a last couple of breaths, and then she wasn't gonna give in, and then she did. She took the last couple of breaths, but they were all water breaths, and she was dead. And anyway, wonder where she is. And then we cut over to this, and it was like breath said blah blah blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's Featherwitch. And then like
you got it way earlier than I got it. I didn't get it until the whole sequence of like an awesome reveal of like that witch who was the single feather that, based on the old myth of having a single feather that was.
Is that all in this scene? Because it's a long scene.
Yeah.
It's not
we get
broken
this
up.
Amazing moment where like without even a scene break, it's just seamlessly transitioning into every character's sort of backstory. It's a wild flourish that Erikson uses here to just sort of almost stream of consciousness from one character to the next. It's really powerful, I thought, how like one sentence is one character's perspective and the next sentence is the next character's perspective. And it's just this kind of flowing backstory. It almost feels like a dream. I had the sense as a reader of being, kind of untethered. Go ahead.
Oh, no. You're right. So here's the things that I was sort of swirling around in my head. I finally remembered who heck Taxillion is. And here's the thing that I think is confusing about it too. Or not confusing, but the pieces that stuck to me is they, in that same thing where they do the reveal of like, Breath was thinking about somebody who was a witch and they gave her a feather. Wonder, who could that be? I was like, okay, Feather Witch. Great. But then we have other people. Last, Sheb, Nappet.
Sheb the Unkillable.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, those seem like people who we know, who have different names. Yeah. And the way that they talk is so like familiar. But then the Rautos is just Rautos, who's the guy.
Taxillion. Yeah.
Who's the guy who was digging up Ikariam clock bits.
Right. That's right.
And Taxillion, well, that's not his name. That's his like species. That's who who Karsa and Samar went, and he was like, help me. And they're like, okay. And then Karsa's like, I swear a vow. And he's like, oh, okay. Seems extreme. But then that's how they got to Lethers in the first place. Right. So Taxillion, I think, got squished by Ikariam. rocks where he was like, Akarium went in
Right.
that door. So crazy. So he's distinctly dead. Rautos, distinctly
So these are
dead.
all like ghost spirits that Ikariam like
Killed.
siphoned into himself somehow.
Yeah. And so I think there's like that scene where we're like, oh, there's one body that's possessed by all these people. I almost feel like they're in Akarium's mind palace because they mentioned that green jacket, the green tusked body. They seem like these are maybe all of those spirits of these people that we know. I think all of these people are actually dead, and the ghost that's watching them is Akarium in his own mind. But we don't know where he is, what his deal is. He went in the building, everything collapsed. Maybe they're all dead and in somebody else's body. But that's like where I'm sitting with it. And
I'm with you 90%. The last 10% that I feel like is I disagree is I think they are in a real physical place. It does feel like they're actually in this Kachin Shamal fortress.
Yeah.
So I think they're inside him.
That's what I
in
mean.
His mind. Yeah. And he's literally walking around inside this place.
That's what I mean. They are like in him, and he looking at them is in him.
Right.
But he is still this physical body.
His perspective of it is inverted, basically.
Yes. And then even as we go through all of them, and I'm so like, I wish my brain worked a little better, because all of them have like a feather witch moment, and they mention the person that they're resentful against. They mention certain things where I'm like, I feel like I should be able to pick up on which sort of pseudonym equals which person and why.
Yeah.
Other than Feather Witch and remembering who Rautos and Tixillian are.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the others, but then the actual ghost as is presented as the ghost, Akarium's like, the ghost is like, all I know is I got some more time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are they out of time? Are they in this other space?
Well, we know he built like timepieces.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like that's what that was a reference to, is him being like, oh, I see all this machinery. I built clocks, kind of a deal.
But do we know, like, if, like, other than the fact that he built clocks, what those clocks meant? I don't think we've ever seen the clocks come into play.
I have a feeling it manipulates time. And so there's definitely more than just it's a clock, for sure. I agree with that. Yeah.
And so the other thing that was part of this scene that I really thought was interesting is it is the ghost that we are assuming is Akarium trying to talk to Tixillian. It says, Tixillian, hear me. What is lifeless is not necessarily dead. That which falls can rise again. Take care, take great care in this place. And they're in this Kachin Shamal keep. And just a couple scenes ago, we had Caliph being like, praise yourselves. Like, think about yourselves. And to me, I'm like, maybe they really were always that opposition force. There's not some god that's lying dormant. All these Kachin Shamal that have been like ritualistically murdered by other Kachin Shamal, being this sacrifice, going a little bit crazy. How did all these super powerful dinosaurs die? Really just like the Imas hunted all of them? Or maybe they ritualistically killed each other because the Atotral dragon was pinned up. And so her doing this thing that's like, don't even care about anything. Just care about yourselves. You're so cool. Maybe that resonated so much with them because their actual history was that they actually have always been the opposing force.
That's interesting. I think you're onto something there. The missing piece for me is how the Fulcral Assail fit in, because I feel like the Fulcral Assail are the third prong of this.
The third puzzle. Dragon, the shadow.
The shadow, yeah, maybe. Really cool stuff, though.
Awesome. So thought-provoking.
It really is. And like I said, the sort of stylistic technique that's used here to bring you into it. Their chapters just feel completely different. You're in this sort of very, I don't know, I can't even think of the right word. This kind of dreamlike. Dreamlike's the wrong word, though. It feels like it's supposed to feel. If you feel like what Akarium must be feeling of these kind of
Interwoven.
souls that are bouncing into one another, and they're all so mean to each other and stuff. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The meanness, like the names that sort of kept coming in my mind are not the names, the characters. The kid from the mines.
Yeah.
Who got killed by Mr. Nom's nephew, the other Nom.
Yeah.
Being like, man, I wanted to do these things, and I'm gonna kill that guy. But then they'd bring up like a different Heavenar guy. I can't remember to say his name's like. His name sounds like Zam. It starts with an X. Xantham Heavenar. And I'm like, does he know that Rautos is also a Heavenar? If he wants to get revenge on that guy, last his whole situation. I know. There's so many details that I feel like if I just sat there and like retreated into my own mind palace, I could come away with info that I can't. I just can't. Yeah,
we'll get there. It'll happen. Okay, so then we head over to the Sheikh, and Jan Tovis, old Twilight herself, is in the middle of a massive battle, this riot that's happening between the islanders that she saved, that she's trying to bring with her, and the Sheikh, the other Sheikh that are headed toward the road to Galan. And she's in it. She's, going to be overwhelmed by this massive, my brain stopped working.
Resistance.
Today. Yeah. I was going to say this, disproportionate sized group. They're going to be overwhelmed by numbers. But then who comes riding in to save her? Old brother.
Old bro.
Old brother. Yedan Derryg.
And the people are rioting and because they're all worked up, they think that she's gonna lead them into death.
Yeah, right. Which I'm not entirely certain she's not.
Open a portal. That went really well for some other people recently.
And everybody says don't go to the road to Galan. That's a bad idea. But it's. I thought this whole sequence was pretty rad in that she's like, "Oh, I hate my brother so much," and he's like, "I'm here to save you."
Can't you just stay banished? God, don't die. Like, you'll be in so much trouble.
Stay behind me. And she's like, if he sacrifices himself for me, I will never forgive him. But then she like opens the thing, brings her people through, and we linger and see what happens. And he's just so awesome that he doesn't sacrifice himself. He literally beats back the overwhelming force, with his outnumbered crew. Just is so rad that they win the day.
Yeah. I also just love the description of like, even the fact that she registered that he was theirs, because they're listening to like, oh, the rabble, everybody's screaming, whatever. And she's like, wait, you hear that? That sounds like organized army. She like looks out the window and it's them like ching, ching, okay. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And even just that tactic of like pushing forward, and then retreating a little bit because the frenzy of people would be like, we're winning, they're retreating. And it's like, we step back literally 1 foot and now you're going to get stabbed. It's like very cool description of how they sort of form up and deal with these larger numbers.
The arrival was like that too, where he's like the wedge, they're forming this wedge and she's like, oh no, we're going to have to fight him and his forces too. And they're like, they spread around and just become a shield for them. And she's like, oh, this is even worse. Now I owe him one. It's so great.
I do love the idea that he's always like, and she's like, not again.
No, not
I thought I banished you. I'm the queen. Come on.
And like all the way he talks is so great, where he's just like, no, I have completed my watch. Though we disagree, it is time for you to run to safety. And she's like, oh, just shut up. I hate
like,
you.
Yes,
so
my queen. Yes, my queen.
Lead your people to safety. We will stand and we will die to ensure your safe passage. And she's like, oh, this is lame. So great. All right. So then the final scene of the chapter, we return to our old friends, the sad children, the snake of kids. just eaten by locusts, starving. It's bad.
Every 2 chapters, it's like, and then remember these sad children. Oh,
So, by the way,
still rough over there.
Nothing has gotten better for them.
Didn't they all get eaten by bugs?
Well,
some of them didn't.
A lot of them. It's just like, it feels like what happened was the sort of edges got eaten, and there's just like whittling down the surviving children,
Yeah.
And they're headed toward the glass desert. This feels delightful.
They also, their newest, ecological enemy being like the diamonds, the lizards.
Oh,
that go
so
and like
awesome.
Eat as your fingers and suck your blood so that they become rubies.
Amazing. Amazing. The diamond lizards become rubies. Incredible.
Shiny looking translucent lizards that gores themselves on your blood. And then the description of them being like, I killed some and then I ate it and I took what they ate. And then all of them like just eating and drinking whatever and then being like, we're so sick and then dying again. You're like, looking bad over at the snake.
It's just so bleak, but incredible. That I'm so glad you remembered to bring up the lizard thing because it's so awesome. Also, we get another Badal poem, and one of my favorites. Just an incredible poem. I think the poetry in this novel has gotten it to a whole other level.
S-tier. I pulled, I think, that epigraph from the first.
It's real good.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to it because that's the end of our 2 chapters. So we got some fun. I have a short one, and then I have a real long one.
I feel like one of mine is embedded in your real long one. That I think.
Well, I kind of stitched it together. Basically, the entire. I kind of stitched together the entire Caliph, revelation.
That you should. I have a single sentence one, and then a kind of short one.
Hit it.
My single sentence one is: she had no idea that intelligent life could be so stupid.
That's great. My short one is from this is from Kissware. She goes, anyway, life stopped being much fun once civilization arrived, or so the old ones muttered. But then they were always muttering. It was the last career to take up before dying of oldness. The reward for living so long, she supposed. She didn't expect to survive her career as a soldier. It was interesting to see how it was the green, fresh ones who did all the complaining. The veterans just stayed quiet. So maybe all that bitching was at both ends of life. The young and the old trapped inside chronic dissatisfaction.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good pull. Great pull. All right. So my other one is I don't know if this is considered an epigraph. It's just a poem after the book 2, which I forgot to mention, is called Eaters of Diamonds and Gems.
Oh yeah. Such a good title.
Oh yeah. I heard a story of a river, which is where water flows over the ground glistening in the sun. It's a legend and untrue. In the story, the water is clear, and that's why it's untrue. We all know water is the color of blood. People make up legends to teach lessons, so I think this story is about us, about a river of blood, and one day we'll run clear.
Beautiful.
It is of a river, and that's attributed to Badal.
Beautiful. Yeah, her other one at the end is also really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is kind of long, so indulge me here.
I shall.
And again, we skipped over a couple of things, but I'm going to read a lot of it.
Yeah.
There is no single God. There can never be a single God. For there to be one face, there must be another. The Naruk did not see it in such terms, of course. They spoke of forces in opposition, of the necessity of tension. All that binds must be bound to 2 foci, at the minimum. Even should a God exist alone, isolated in its perfection, it will come to comprehend the need for a force outside itself, beyond its omniscience. If all remains within, Destriant, exclusively within, that is, then there is no reason for anything to exist, no reason for creation itself. If all is ordered, untouched by chaos, then the universe that was, is, and will ever be is without meaning, without value. The God would quickly comprehend then that its own existence is also without meaning, and so it would cease. It would succumb to the logic of despair. In its knowledge, the God would understand the necessity for that which lies outside itself, beyond its direct control. In that tension, meaning will be found. In that struggle, value is born. If it suits you and your kind, Destriant, fill the ether with gods, goddesses, first heroes, spirits, and demons. Kneel to one or many, but never, never, Caliph, hold to a belief that but one God exists, that all that is resides within that God. Should you hold such a belief, then by every path of reasoning that follows, you cannot but conclude that your one God is cursed, a thing of impossible aspirations and deafening injustice, whimsical in its cruelty, blind to mercy, and devoid of pity. Do not misunderstand me. Choose to live within one God as you like, but in doing so, be certain to acknowledge that there is an other, an existence beyond your God. And if your God has a face, then so too does that other. In such comprehension, Destriant, will you come to grasp the freedom that lies at the heart of all life. That choice is the singular moral act, and all one chooses can only be considered in a moral context if that choice is free.
Oh, well read. Well read. Amazing.
There's one. Do you have any others?
No, mine was
okay.
Was
there's one more that I
yours.
want to do. It's a little bit farther down in this thing, but I just love this. I think this is the most gorgeous notion, maybe in the entire series for me. All life is sorcery. In its very essence, the soul is magical, and each process of chemistry, of obeisance and cooperation, of surrender and of struggle at every scale conceivable is a consort of sorcery. Destroy magic and you destroy life. When we kill magic. Consider the magnitude of that crime if you dare.
Oh, beautiful.
I am so taken with this notion that magic is real and it's called life. Like, and it's so, it feels so powerful, that notion. It's like we take it for granted because we know nothing other than that, but it's so true. It's the most magical thing you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the whole thing later on with the, you know, the Kachin Chamal saying every time we sink our teeth into something and kill it because we need to live, we weep, you know, because we understand that we are killing magic.
Yeah. And in the context of the world, you know, it's like, it's literally magic. It's like the magic force that they could use to do sorcery, whatever.
Yeah.
But the idea that, you know, just equating that to reality, the idea that, you know, every time you kill, there's less magic because there's literally less life in the world. It's just it's beautiful.
It's extraordinary.
Like a special way of looking at existence.
I agree. Yeah. And you know, we hear Erikson, he's said a number of times in our conversations with him, the thing that fantasy storytelling allows is for you to make the metaphor literal, you know, and no better example of that than in this notion of, you know, a universe of a place where magic is a real thing. And so when you kill life, you kill magic. It's just, it's so good. So good.
Book? Good.
Book good. Book real good. Thanks, folks, for hanging out with us. We got 2 more chapters coming at you next week. In the meantime, enjoy yourselves. Dance. That's
Happy-
magic too.
Happy Juneteenth.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, a sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC